me, it hits really hard what you're saying about like look like you're there, because as a YouTuber, I need to look like I'm there. I need to make sure that I sharpen my skills and be consistent and just So I'm learning. I'm really learning. And then Pastor K, I want to find out now, because I think you've given us like a lot of examples about how you can improve yourself as a musician, and as like the things that you've done even like with your family. So I want to know, like, for you, how would you describe your own life? Would you say, because I look at you and I'm just like, Pastor K is my pastor and he's a musician, but then there's also some businesses that you do as well. You mentioned that you learned how to trade forex. And do you think it's important to know how to do other businesses as well, or do you think you can actually just make it as a musician and with just, even if with business, but then with business that is just related to music?
Okay. Yeah, I think that it's very much possible to make it in a career of a musician, because there's a lot of room like in that career. For example, you don't only have to play an instrument, or you don't only have to sing. You can actually learn studies like sound engineering, how to be a sound engineer, how to be a mixing engineer, things like that. There's a lot of things. You can actually be a supplier for stage, or supplier for sound. You can be in that field which you love, like your higher out sound. You are the one who does stage for concerts, for shows, things like that. There's so much room in the music industry. There are a lot of people who need like producers, for example. You can sharpen your skill to a point where you can just be a producer, where you just help people who want to make projects. You just produce.
Okay.
So there's a lot within the industry that a person can do if they are willing to learn the skills.
That is needed. Yeah.
That is necessary.
Okay. And I know that you've also worked with like some big people, like with Dr. Tumi in South Africa. Like, how did you manage to get those kind of gigs?
Okay. So with that, like the first person I would say was a high profile person I worked with was, I think it was Maduba Madima. Yeah, because we were from the same hood. It was easy to just work with by default, But the first person, it was from Joy Celebration. The person was William Sijaki. He used to sing hymns in Joy Celebration. So I was connected to him by my now spiritual father, Francis. He's the one who invited him to come to Cape Town and let him spend a week with us, just learning from him. It was like, he just booked him a place to be here for a week, and we were just with that person for a week. After that, every year there was a Joy Celebration artist coming, those were popular at that time, because they would be invited to come and do a concert here. And then from there, like many of my breakthroughs, I was at church when they happened, because there was a time Loyiso came when I was still at his people church. Loyiso came and he wanted a keyboard player, and he called me. Somebody referred him to me to say, okay, this guy who can play for you. So Loyiso, when he came, he called me, and then we hooked up. When I played for him, like I said, the presentation, I always made sure it was proper. I learned his work before I even met him. When I knew I was going to play for him, I practiced. When I met him, I played in a way that he had another show the next day, which he hadn't told me about. After I played, he was like, no, I think I'm going to need you to be the one who come with me. And then that was it. From there, when I played for him, that's when that other company hired him, because they were the one managing him. When they saw what I could do, then they said, no, we need this person. And then after that, there was these things, like, it's also important to attend workshops for musicians, because there are those things, like in South Africa, especially in Cape Town, we have what we call music exchange. I'm not sure if it's still happening now, but it was happening every year. Now because of COVID, I don't know how it happens. Every year, where all the big names, many of them, they come to share their journey and how they're making it. So I would attend those things, and while I'm there, because I knew what I wanted, before I go there, I made audio CDs of myself playing, and I made copies of those things. So when I was there, any person I would desire to work with, I gave them my CD. So please just take a listen, even if it's just for a minute.
And you've been hustling.
Yeah, hey, this thing you hustle. You can't just sit and wait, for things to come to you.
Yeah.
Even when you feel like you are very good. Because I'm not there because I'm the best. I'm there because also of hustling. And the number one thing is because of grace. The grace that is upon my life. But I would do that, give people my work. Say, okay, please just listen. Even if you just listen to one track, it's fine. And I would put my phone number on that CD. I wouldn't give them separately, so that if they like what they're hearing, then my details are there. So I did that, and one of the person who called me, his name is Bruce. He's a music producer also. He produced music for movies. I was also interested in that. That okay, I also want to be creating like music for these pictures like Disney. So he's doing that because at the time he had done this movie, I think Kumba. It's called Kumba. It's like animation movie. So he was the one who did music for that. So he called me to say, okay, I want to meet with you. And he was staying far. I think it was Hermanus. I'm not sure if it was Hermanus, but I had to drive 2 hours to get to where he was. I took the drive. I didn't care how far it was. I knew that was an opportunity opening up. I went there, sat in his studio, chatted, like I learned a lot from him. I think I went there maybe 3 or 4 times. I would drive down there just to learn from him because he's already there. And with me, I if I know someone who's already there, I go there and I let them know that I want to learn from you, so that they can be aware that there's someone who wants to learn, instead of me just hanging around them trying to steal what I can steal. No, I let them know that I want to learn from you. So that's what I did. So he would also get shows, and he would call me for those things. So that's how I got to work also with Dr. Tumi. Like the list is just it's.
I remember when I was preparing for this interview, I watched the series you did with Silo, and I was just like, oh my gosh, like you've worked with so many people.
Judith Sephuma, it's even now when I'm thinking, like the names are so. I feel like if I'm mentioning the names, I feel like I'm bragging. So,
no, brag, please brag. I'm waiting for this.
Well, so the names, I've written them on my profile. They're there.
Okay.
Like the people who I've worked with, because it's really quite a lot, and I really appreciated that I also worked with South African legends, people who when I was a child I would look up to, like Vicky Samson, those who sang My African Dream, like Judith Sephuma, like those people were the people when I was growing up, I looked up to them like, oh my God, these guys are they, But when you actually now get to a place where you can work with those artists, it's such I don't know, it's a dream come true.
It is. Yeah. Sure, Pastor. I think you've talked a lot about like the people that you've worked with, about finances. I think you've explained that very well. But then now I want us to talk about like family relations, and you've already said you're married, you have 2 beautiful kids. So because I know like you even in Cape Town now, your wife is in Johannesburg. How do you do that as a musician? You go to gigs, you go for like an entire weekend, you don't come back. Like how does that work? How do you maintain a good relationship and still maintain a good career as a musician?
Yeah, that one, I think, to be honest with you, it's not an easy thing to do, especially if you are passionate about what you do. Because I'm very passionate about music, to a point where when I'm doing music, it's like the whole world, it's like there's a wall around me. Whoever I'm with in that room, that's it. Like, so you can get lost in the career, to be honest with you, because I know we sometimes would be flying over to other provinces for gigs. Maybe we fly 4 weekends following each other.
Sure.
We're out, So when you have a wife, for example, maybe she works from morning till afternoon, you don't get to see each other much because during the week you are busy preparing for the event. The weekend you are gone the whole weekend. You are doing the event. When you come back, there's another event which requires a different preparation. You are preparing. So it's not easy to balance, but you get to a point where it doesn't happen automatically. It's a choice. It's a decision that you make that, okay, I want to make this balance. I want to create this balance that, okay, this is how I'll do things. Now I can only take gigs that are like this. Now I don't have to take gigs that I have to go the whole week. Now I can only take, So you come to a place where now you have to actually tackle this thing with intention. It shouldn't happen by automatically. You have to intentionally decide that I want to now have time where I spend with my family, and this is how I'll structure it. Yeah, because when you're just running with a career, I think many people in different careers, they're so excited about their careers to a point where they leave their partners behind because it's so exciting there. When you're there, like, the world is yours. Like, you're just enjoying. You forget that your time is also required somewhere else. So for me, it was an intentional thing that I do. Like now you are saying, I'm in Cape Town. My wife is following me next week. She'll be here as well. She's coming to Cape Town. So it's one of those things that you plan it. You know that, okay, since you're gonna be there for this long, maybe you can join me there as well. Okay. Sometimes it works like that.
Sure. Okay, so this is a question that I would ask your wife, Pastor T, but well, she's not here, so I'll ask you.
We are one, yeah.
So if maybe you find that you're in a relationship with maybe like a musician, and then they are very passionate about their work, and they are gone, and you actually understand and you support their dream, but then you feel neglected. How do you like approach the subject with your partner? Like, okay, like, how come back here without making them feel like you expect them to choose you over their career?
Okay. Yeah, I think the way I would answer it, I don't know if it's the way she would answer it, but like I said, when you're passionate about something and you're chasing your career, it's like people are chasing a career, they can work all night, because they want to be their best, they want to get that promotion, they want to get the CEO position. They can end up working to a point where it's not easy for your partner to catch up. Because, for example, with me and my friends, when we were growing up, music, I remember when we would be at church conferences, youth ones, they would tell us, okay, 10, 11 p.m. it's time for go to sleep. Then everybody would go to their rooms, but we would sneak out and go to the hall where the sound system is, and would play all night till like 4 a.m., 5 a.m. That's when we would go to sleep. You see? So when you're passionate about something, you would imagine we would give up sleep. So we're rather not sleep. And it's not like we're practicing for something. We'll just call them jam sessions. We're just enjoying. You know what I'm saying? So that's why it needs a person who will advise. What I would say to musicians is that, like, be intentional. Set time to say, okay, I love music, but I can only do it in these days. I can only do this in these days. Even me, there are days where I don't touch a keyboard. I don't touch anything that has to do with music. My focus is just on different things. It's an intentional thing that a person has to do. Because when you're passionate about something, it's easy to leave your partner behind.
Sure, thank you so much for that, Pastor K. I want to ask you about your spiritual life. How did it play out? No, what impact did your spiritual life have on your music, on your family, and you stopping to work and having that security that our family, our parents want for us? Like, what factors, like, how did that shape who you are?
I think for me, to be honest with you, it's that thing that I found someone who got me grounded. I found someone who got me grounded. Like, for me, it was my spiritual father. He brought discipline in my career. To a point where after spending much time with him while in this career of music, it helped me to be so grounded to be a grounded person, basically. Because when you're a musician, like your spiritual life can be affected in many ways because of the places where you have to be working as well, you know. Sometimes we work in clubs, sometimes we work in events where everybody is just drunk, you know what I'm saying? And even I don't know, traveling, we travel a lot, places where nobody knows you, you know what I'm saying? So your spiritual life, if you are not grounded, you can miss it.
Yeah.
You can miss it. So for me, our discipline was brought by my spiritual father, because even if I would have a gig and I would say, oh, there's this event, if he says don't go to that one, I wouldn't. And I wouldn't go to him and say, Pella, this is my career, this is what I make money on. I never did that. If he says that one, don't go to it, I would say, okay, it's fine, I won't go. And I would let it go, only to find that I get something better. You get what I'm saying? So for me, there was a person who was like, in a way, mentoring me with him not necessarily being a musician, but he was mentoring me on how to handle career.
I think that is very important, Pastor K. But how do you think it's important for everyone to have like a spiritual father or a mentor who keeps them grounded? Like you said, I think after you said what you just said now about traveling, I mean, like it's different people that are going. You're going as a set for people you don't know, in places where nobody knows you, in clubs. There's a whole lot of things that happen, especially like as a Christian. So do you think it's important for everyone to have that, or can a person still have that grounding without having like a mentor or a spiritual father?
I think, personally, I think it's important that everybody must have someone who can tell them no and listen to them. When there's no one who can say don't do that and you listen, yeah, you can do anything basically, which means you cannot be advised. So it's very important that there's always that it doesn't have to be many people. That one person you respect said that if this person can say no, I will stop. You know, there must always be that in a person. Mentorship is very important. Mentorship shouldn't only come by a person who's in the same career as you. It has to come from someone you respect, someone you honor, who you can listen to, because a mentor gives advices. They don't come and do things for you. They give you advice on how to do things. So if you don't respect them or honor them, even if that person speaks, you will still do what you want. You know? So I think it's important, because wherever you are in your career, there's always someone who sees where you are with a different eyes than your eyes. So they can see something that you are not seeing. That's why it's important to have a mentor. You know, it's either someone who has walked the path you're trying to follow, or someone who, you know, has a good eye in terms of life in general. Yeah, but it's important to have someone.
Okay. I want to find out, like, you've talked a lot about a lot of things that we talked about today. Where are you going as Pastor K, as a musician, as a pastor, as a family man? Where are you going?
Okay. Let me start by the career side of things, the music side of things, since we are more here for that.
Yes.
Like recently, if you've seen what I'm doing, for example, in my channel, I am trying to make sure that those who are in this industry, they get all the necessary packaging, if I may put it like that.
Okay.
You know, the right mentorship from people who are actually making it in the industry.
Okay.
So I'm trying by all means to improve the careers of musicians in every way I can. I bring classes, things that when they're done, maybe they're done overseas, which are not necessarily relevant to South Africa, because we're in South Africa right now. So I try to bring people who are here in South Africa, who are making it big in this industry, to give advice or to show people how they can do certain things within this industry, you know, so that people can learn from people they actually know, people they actually look up to. You know, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying by all means to improve the industry by bringing in the right people. Yeah.
And also relatability. I mean, it's easy to learn from someone you come from the same background with than someone you see on TV.
Yes, that's very true.
What are some of the challenges that you face as a musician?
Challenges you face as a musician are a lot. Every challenge that you can think of, a musician faces them. But we face them at different levels, I must say, because there are musicians which their challenge is equipment. You know, you are good at something. Many people learn an instrument maybe from church environment, where maybe you learn how to play drums. But when you're at home, you can't afford to buy your own drum set. That's a challenge because your growth is also limited because you can't be practicing every day. You know, you can't. Not everyone can afford to have their own keyboard at home, although they know how to play keyboard. You know, at least for those who sing, they have their voice with everywhere. You know, they can practice. But still, with that, you find that a place you are staying at doesn't allow you to make noise. You know, that's another challenge that you cannot prepare easy in that place. You know. So there are many challenges. Also, not getting work like gigs. You know, especially now with COVID, it's no longer easy for musicians to get work. And other challenges are being underpaid. You know, a lot of people believe that music is not necessarily a real career. You see, so they will only pay you what you're worth when it's a big name. You know, other than that, if you're not yet a big name, you haven't released CD projects or things like that, most of the time they will underpay you, and sometimes they will not pay you at all. Those are the challenges, because they will tell you that this is an opportunity for you to expose yourself to other people.
Exposure.
Yeah,
but exposure doesn't pay the bills.
Exactly, and that one I think it's mostly used on musicians more than in any other career.
Sure.
Because they will always say, and you can't say no, because you know that stage maybe there'll be someone seated there who can actually, you know, recognize me. But it's really not fair. It's a challenge because for you to get there, you spend money, you still spend time preparing, you know, things like that. So as artists, there's a lot of challenges that we face, you know, and also getting a reputable client. Some clients will promise to pay you, but they never pay you. So those are some challenges which you run into. You know, musicians can't have medical aids, things like that. You know, it's hard.
It's hard being a musician.
Yeah, it's hard. Like you can't even get a bond for a house. You have to buy cash because they want. When you go to the bank to ask for a loan, they want a consistency salary. You know, and you find that as a musician, that's not happening. So it's hard for many musicians. Yeah.
So what would you advise someone who wants to pursue music as a career?
If you want to pursue music as a career, I would say broaden yourself. Don't just focus on that one thing. Just make sure that within the industry there's something else you can do. Like I was saying, if you know how to play an instrument, also learn how to do maybe sound engineering. Also buy equipment for yourself. You know, buy proper equipment, buy a laptop, buy things that you can actually make projects from your own home, because it's possible to do that. Broaden yourself so that you are not only relying on someone calling you for a gig. Sometimes be the artist. You know, most of us as musicians, we are comfortable in being part of the band, but not being the front line person. You know, or you know. So now these days it's possible. We have YouTube, we have Facebook. You can make your own channel where it's about you and make yourself as an artist if you are able to. So just broaden yourself up, because you can make it as a musician, but it needs work and you must be ready for the challenges, like I've said. The salary doesn't always come through, you know, but be ready and to work hard, you know, work very hard to make sure that you are top of the list when people think of people they should get for an event.
Yeah. Well, Pastor K, thank you so much for being with us today. I've learned a lot. I've learned so much. I've learned so much about you about the music industry and how it works as well. And I have seen your accomplishments, and I've seen how hard you work and how you perfect your skills, and I really appreciate you. I really appreciate the contribution you're making in content creation, in music as well, to the body of Christ also. Like, worship team changes when Pastor K is here. So
I hope they are not watching.
I hope they don't watch. But yeah, thank you so much, Pastor K. It was really a pleasure to have you here. One last question. What makes you so great?
Simple answer is Jesus, though. I'm telling you, like my life, people, I don't know, some people don't understand it, but there's a grace upon my life. I believe this grace upon my life. That is what I think, it's what makes me look like I'm great, because of the grace that's working upon my life. That's it. Like, I've handed everything to Jesus. Let me put it like that. My career, my everything I do, there's nothing that I do which is completely out, which is not connected to the work of God. There's nothing that I do. Yeah.
Sure. Wow. Thank you so much. And guys, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for watching my journey to greatness with Pastor K. Also, I didn't mention it, but Pastor K was also featured on SABC2 some other time. That was even before I knew you.
Yes, yeah, I remember.
Yeah. Which is good. What was the name of the show?
It was 2 shows basically. There was one about money. What? I'm not sure it was Money Sets, or I forgot the name of the show.
Oh, okay.
And the other one was, I forgot the name of the show.
But then the other one that I watched was presented by Jude. Yes. It was featuring Venda and Tsonga people, and he was in his beautiful house in Cape Town. Now he stays in his beautiful house in Midrand, which is like the place you wanna live, trust me. But anyways, yeah, thank you so much, Pastor K, and I really appreciate you coming. Guys, please like, please subscribe, please share with everybody that you think would like this kind of content, and I'll see you guys on my next episode. Bye.